walking in place, hopefully each time we walk through it, it becomes more evident, more clear, and more meaningful.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right, so we are still on page Yud Gimel. 4 lines from the end of the top section. Line starts with the word pe-oolot hagil. We are still discussing the principle, the phenomenon of oiros amislabesh in kelim, which is not really a very simple, it's not a simple concept at all. Because on the one hand, the oiros are formed according to the demands and the needs of the kelim. On the other hand, the oiros are in full regalia, full revelation. They control the kelim, even though they adjust themselves in a manner that the kelim should be able to accept. And yet, they stay in full control. Not only control the kelim, the important point over here is not that they control the keli, that the keli is completely obstructed, has no influence, and the oil reveals itself in full purity as oil. Where when you look on the activity of the keli, you can hardly see a keli. Where does this activity come from? You see oil functioning, even though it's functioning with cognizance and reference to the keli. And we had numerous means by which to conceptualize and recognize this principle. At this moment, just want to go back to the original one. The story with the Rebbe Rashab, the story when the Rebbe Arash asked the Goy Lahavlo, why do you eat? And the Goy says he eats so that he would live. Now, practically speaking, as we discussed all the time, what arouses him to eat?
Hunger.
What triggers it? It is the body, it is hunger. So therefore, it would seem that the body at this point takes over and runs the show. And yet, the Goy says, this is not out of avodas Hashem, the Goy says as a human being, that he eats so that he would live. Because the life element in the body, although it's completely, and said, it fits perfectly into the body's requirements. It gives life at the level of the body, yet the life becomes the primary recognition. This is the meaning of the words that the body, that the group, that the keli is bottled to the oil. As we explained, bottle means that it puts the oil ahead of itself. I'm very important. Why am I important? Because I can produce oil. Because I can house oil.
That's what the keli thinks.
That's what represented in the whole phenomenon of the Keli acting with the oil. The oil, okay, I'm just want to bring you up to the line that we're starting from. The oil rules over the Keli, and the oil guides the Keli. This principle, and the oil rules the Keli. I could say, yeah, the oil rules the Keli. As we said, the Keli recognizes the primary value of the oil. But Manhigim always say that the oil guides the Keli. The Keli acts in a manner that the whole action is for the purpose of showing the presence of the oil. Manhigim always say. And this is where we're up to. We have to discuss it. Okay. Very, very subtle. Agila means the effect of the Gilui. It's not the action of the Gilui, it's the effect of the Gilui. We discussed this also quite extensively. The Keli allows the oil to be mislabish, and the oil is mislabish and the Keli in total relationship, which the oil will not overwhelm the Keli. It will be in the Keli only to the extent that the Keli can tolerate it. Now, the oil and Keli, by definition, are in two different realms completely, like life and the body. The body has no understanding what life is. Life, the neshama, is mislavish in the body in a manner that its koiches and its will almost is expressed, is fulfilled through the body. But the body has no understanding of this at all. And yet, the body acts under the direction and jurisdiction of the oil in such a manner that the oil actually comes evident through the Keli. That the Keli is actually speaking about, you know what I have oil. But the Keli does not know that phenomenon. But because of its bitul, the Keli automatically acts according to the manner that the oil will be manifest through a Keli. Again, we discussed this already, and our the means of demonstrating this union have many things. One thing that seemed to have kind of registered is the union that when a person sings, he's in joy, he sings. And when he sings, he claps his hands, or he dances with his feet. The hands do not feel the joy. They don't have the means to feel the joy. What then is the meaning that the hands are clapping? The joy is a neshama experience. The neshama is in full manifestation, a full gilui. The neshama in the guf. As a matter of fact, an interesting thing that came to mind that would clarify this. If we should observe someone clapping, the way we clap in 770, where the Rebbe used to clap by brilliance, so what's going on? Who is he applauding? Doesn't make any sense. What is the clapping? The clapping is a spontaneous reaction at the level of the body. The body acts. It represents the manner of the oir, of the neshama. And the oir is such beginning, such in control of the body, that sometimes it's hard to refrain from clapping. It kind of forces itself out. Seeing that the joy, and the movement of the song. Not at all. It's the joy and the song is a neshama element, remains that. But the body is in total bitul, so that what you're looking at is actually the neshama. And this here, pe-oolot is a gilui. In full body, full revelation, full expression, within the confines of the body, and that, as a result of that, it shows itself on the body level, as if the body understands the soul. What is the significance of that? The gilui expresses itself at the level of the keli itself. Here is the oil affects that there should be gilui, that this, what the oil is actually experiencing can also be recognized in biyah. Biyah means in the more of the level. Biyah is like machshava dibur mais. Atzilus, there is the real chai, the real oir. In biyah there isn't the real oir. Biyah is completely on a worldly and functioning level. It's like the body versus the neshama. And yet, because the oil is begilui, there is the effect of this gilui. Pe-oolot is a gilui. The effect of that gilui. And the effect of that gilui is that it actually manifests itself even at the level of biyah. This is the process of the creation. Coming back, so to speak, in our arena, this is the significance of us standing on our feet and mumbling the words of davening. The mouth does not understand what it says. It is careful to pronounce the words correctly and clearly, because there is the Gilui HaNefesh, Gilui HaSeichel, the involvement on the Seichel level, not on the body level, on the mouth level. And yet, that involvement is so total that it manifests itself on the level of the body itself, that words are pronounced. It's not enough that I think of it and I experience it on the seichel level, but it goes down to a level where that seichel is not sense at all, saying the words. This is how it comes out, biviyah, on the worldly level. Again, I'm stopping at this point because we already discussed it. This is where we're up to now, to understand the significance of this Gilui Bibiyah. V'hu masha kosu. Right, we all have the place. V'hu masha kosu, and this is what the posuk says. Ha-chochmo tois la-chochem. This is a posuk. A posuk in Kehelis. Kehelis is a book from Tanakh. And the Kehelis is, what Kehelis means a gathering. Old experiences. Theoretical level, on practical level, what I've observed. So he says, Ha-chochmo tois la-chochem. Chochmo tois. Tois means it gives strength, priority to the chochem. Yoiser me'asora shalitin asher ba'ir. More than the 10 rulers that are in the city. Rulers. Asora Shaliti means 10 rulers that are in the city. Just to get you to know what this is about. Asora Shaliti, this is referring to Asora Ma'amore Shinibra Hayim, the 10 utterances that created the world. This is actually what defined the world in all its details and all its ramifications and all its functioning level. From that perspective, there's a physical world. This is what the Tzora Shalitin is, the Tzora Mamoris. And therefore, since that these are the means of which the whole world was created, you would think that this is preeminent in the world.
Yeah.
This is preeminent, but the world is, that's what was created. So he says that Chochmo, Toyes la Chochem, gives strength and rulership to the Chochem that supersedes the ten shalitim, the creation, the part of the creation itself. And that becomes the ruler. Rather than the one that actually created it. Created the Keli, created the Messias of the world. Okay, so let's continue here. V'hei, and these 10 shalitim are ho'asora ma'amoris. These are the 10 utterances that created the world. The sharsham, which are rooted me'as esfiras atzilus. These 10 utterances actually is expressing the 10 spheres of Atzilus. Wow, this is 10 spheres of Atzilus, and what happens out of that? An inanimate world, which means shehakelim poyalim, that the kelim affect liyes, that there should be pe-oolot his habus, the effect of the creation. And his creation, his havos, means, as we said before, there is a metzius of something that is just a metzius, that its existence, it's metzius of yesh, metzius of yesh. Let me demonstrate. We shall understand these words, metzius of yesh. Extremely common in Chassidus, and it's really important that we understand. Coming back to our proverbial table. If you walk in the room in the dark or your eyes closed, the table, how do you identify the table? How do you stumble upon a table? Because it obstructs your walk. The yesh, because the table occupies this space, like the physicists define physical presence. You can't walk through it. It won't let you go through it. This is how the table comes into existence to you. This is yesh. What's meant yesh? It does not speak in terms of its significance. It doesn't speak in terms of why am I here. It simply says I'm here, and you can't ignore it. What's meant yesh. Then when you open your eyes and the light comes on, you don't see the yeshus of the table anymore. You see what is the environment and what is the context and why is the table here in the first place. Then you have the Esespheres. It illuminates what this is all about. It's not an obstruction. On the contrary, it's an enhancement of the room. It's not occupying occupying space. It's expressing the space, it's illuminating and gives meaning to the space. And its yesh aspect is totally lost. Nobody will say, "Oh, this table is obstructing my work." it enhances my presence, my presence.
What's the meaning the yesh aspect is totally lost? I mean, there's still the actual object in the room. It's completely null to its real purpose.
That's right. Lost totally. It is there exclusively subservient to the meaning of it.
Okay.
That's when you have light.
We were reviewing this morning, and it seemed like part of the nature of a keli is that It can be, it can be here and serving a purpose, or it can be on a shelf in a store for sale, or it can be lost in the street. It maintains its metzius, no matter.
1 second. Metzias of a keli in the store shelf is just Metzias yesh. It's not a keli.
Oh, as opposed to what we're saying here about the table or the cup, that it's completely nullified to its purpose, yeah?
That's when it is in the right place where it belongs.
But the fact that the object can be resold or lost shows that it never totally lost its yesh element, no?
True. But what is its what is its value? Why would you buy it? For its yesh? You're buying it because this keli is capable of completely obstructing itself, obliviating itself, and serve the purpose for which it was created. Even the keli wouldn't say, no, but wait a second. You really have to recognize me.
Even though it doesn't say that, it still has that nature, and a person could buy the cup to use it like I did, or a person could buy
this
it
is the meaning oil bekli. You don't buy a keli for the keli purposes.
If you're going to resell it, then a person may.
When you resell it, then you have taken it out from a position of oil, and the oil is removed from it, and you have just a keli. But what is the value of this keli? Why do people buy it? Because oil can settle into it.
And during that phase, it's as if the yesh element has completely disappeared.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm selling a table. It's a 20-foot table by the width of 8 feet. I want to sell it to you. Your room is 10 by 12.
No deal.
Huh?
No deal.
Is that a table for you?
No.
A table means something that eventually that can bring the oil of what it can serve. That's what I oil bekli. So you're right. Even though the keli is created separately in our arena, it's created separately, but ultimately the keli becomes so imbued, so subservient to the oil that it's completely oblivious. You're completely oblivious to it.
So the keli on the shelf, if it, the object on the shelf, if it's not a keli, what is it?
It is wood or paper, whatever it's made of.
Okay.
What if I mean there are some objects that could be used for a practical purpose, but are mainly made to be displayed, artistic. So a beautiful goblet, some kind of a somebody sent me a menorah that wasn't kosher for lighting.
So this is a keli. This is a keli for aesthetical purposes. It's alluding to some concept of an aesthetical level. This Indian, I said, the illustration of the table is very, very clear. And I'm going to repeat almost verbatim, I remember what we said originally, some time back, that if you walk in the room and it's dark, then you're hitting the table and you're walking around the table. The whole time you're trying to avoid colliding with any object. And the way you get to where you want to go is the object guides you where to go. If there's light in the room and you see the whole structure in the room, and every object that in the room is in its place. It's not occupying any place that doesn't belong to it. No object in this room is for naught, just to be there. So every object in the room is describing this room. As you walk into the room, you're walking in the room, not in the object. Then you're really experiencing the room with all its riches, all its enhancements. What is the room made for? A human dwelling. Every object in this room speaks about the human dwelling element, not about its physical structure. This is so fine and this is so true that if you come into a room and everything is set up, there's one chair that is out of place. It kind of disturbs your view of the room.
Would it be correct to say if Yesh is being called, it doesn't contribute anything? And as soon as it doesn't contribute anything, as soon as we see with the eyes and we see the contribution, so then it loses the term Yesh, because it's not about himself, it's about what he's contributing.
Well, it is capable of contributing only if it is a receptacle of the oil. It doesn't contribute on its own.
Right, but when does it lose the example when it's dark and we're just obstructing on the table, then we say the table is a yesh.
Right.
Because then we don't see any contribution from the table to the room.
Because the table then is not makabel oil.
Yeah, but what happens when it's makabel oil? Then it becomes...
When it's makabel oil, then it points you with a finger at the oil, not at itself.
At itself. What is contribute? What is...
Yeah, but what we are saying is more than the keli is contributing. The keli speaks of the oil, not of itself. That's the important thing. Ha-chochma toes la-chochem yeshem ha-shor saliti. The chochma supersedes the entire creation. Yes, you have a big world, totally obstructed by the reality of what it's there, what the oil that it represents.
And the oil is not about himself. That's
yeah, and that's what we said. You want to eat? Or I'm hungry. That's for an animal. That's not the human concept of eating. This is why when a person eats, the Torah talks about how you're supposed to eat. What's the difference? I'm eating because to satisfy my hunger. No, you're eating because you're a human being and you have a human meaning to see. And if you're biting from a loaf of bread, this is you're lost your human perspective. Like you said the other day, there's the fast food outlets. You come in, there's no place to sit down. Just take your sandwich and run in the street. This is very common. This is American invention. Fast food. Eating fast food in this manner is not eating because you want to live. It's eating exclusively because you're hungry. There is no sense of a life element. There's no respect. If you were thinking about that, you would eat it in respectful manner. You would respect your life. Here, the life element is completely abstracted. I'm hungry, or better still, I enjoy this food. Okay, it's enough. Okay. So I'm starting at the end of the third line from the bottom. Shehakoi kelim poyalim. Number one, the spheres and the Mamoris are rooted in the spheres. What is the relationship between the Mamoris and the spheres? This is spheres Atzilus. The answer is because the kelim poyalim, the kelim have an effect. The effect of liyes pe-oolot are his havos, that there should be the effect of his havos, of the creation. As a result of the fact that they conceal the oir. What does it mean? They're concealing the oir. How is these havos come about? If we say that creation, the ability, the power to create is in the oir only because oir represents the etzem, so the kelim conceal the oir. As a result of that, pe-oolot are his house, the effect of his house.
But they're not mastirim. They're megalim.
No, they're mastirim. The oil is mislabish in the cave. But this, pe-oolot are his havos. The effect of his havos does come al yedei shemastirim al oir. But even even after the fact that the kelim are master al ha'oir, the kelim themselves are saying, but the main thing here is the oil that I'm concealing. Kana omikol mokoim, omikol mokoim yet still, even though the kelim have the power to be mastered al oil. And this is what this whole relationship between oil and keli is. It should happen. It can consider. The komoke still ha-chochma, Torah is la-chochma. The chochma means the oil that's mislabish in the keli, that gives power to the chochma. What is the power that it gives to the chochma? Liya is gilui oir bibiyah. That there should be gilui oir in biyah. What does that mean, gilui oir in biyah? Gilui oir in biyah is that there is gilui oir in the keli. But the keli and oir do not. The keli has no understanding what oir is. It conceals the oir. So how is it gili oir bibiyah? And that is v'liyes bohem bechinas habitu. So that there would be in the kelim the bechina of bitu. The kelim are not able to absorb and present oil. But they can, by saying, listen, don't look at me, look at the oil that's in me, that is the extent to which they can bring out the gili oil. Can you throw the box of tissues this way? That's it, thank you. Thank you. The bechinas habitu. This is all important to understand, and the bitul is a principle in Avodas Hashem. And as we always say, bitul does not mean you nullify as if you have no significance. On the contrary, you have all the significance. The Alter Rebbe writes in the first Perek of Tanya, brings down from Tefiki Yovis. The whole world insists that you're a tzaddik. You should maintain and view yourself as a Rosh. So the Alter Rebbe asks a question. If he's going to be viewing himself as a Rosh, you'll get depressed. And he won't be able to do Amit Hashem B'Simcha. And if on the other hand, he will not get depressed, he's a Rosh and it doesn't bother him, so then what happens? It doesn't feel oir. It completely does away with oir. Doesn't matter. Your love is callous. Then doing a good thing and doing a bad thing is identical. It doesn't touch him. So this beetle does not mean that makes no difference what I do. This beetle means what I do is of paramount importance, but not because of my facility, but because the oil that I carry. Like we said, eating is of paramount importance, but not because it satisfies my belly, but because it carries the neshama, it gives life, it allows the neshama to stay in the group. It's of all importance. And to be hungry is not a good thing, because as I said, when it's hungry, you can't really learn. And the Halacha speaks about it, the Gemara speaks about it, the Chassidus speaks about it. It's all important. Listen to the beetle. Just to illustrate from a halacha perspective, we get immediately a clear handle on this principle. We mentioned, I think I mentioned it here, last week. The halacha says that if you carry a plate and on the plate there is a morsel of food, you know that Shabbos you're not allowed to carry from Shus HaYochid to Shus HaRabbi. But, like everything in the Torah, there is a shiur, there's a minimal measure that constitutes food. And if the amount of food you're carrying is less than this measure, you're not chayav. Now you're carrying a plate, and in the plate there's a morsel of food that is less than the minimal shiur. But you carry the plate. Are you chayav or a potter? The halacha says you're potter. But you carry the plate. The answer is that the plate was bottled to the earth. Now, what does it mean was bottled? Was it there, was it not there? If not for the keli, you couldn't carry the food. Of course it was there. But the keli itself states, I'm not here for my own purposes, I'm here for the sake of the food. To what extent? To the extent that my presence and the fact that you carried him has no bearing at all on your action, what you accomplished. This is an illustration. Huh?
Yeah, he doesn't get depressed because it's in the example of that you gave before, with the person viewing himself as a Rasha, because what's the reason why if he views himself as a Rasha, the way you're explaining it, because he himself is not really. It's all about the mission.
The mission is there. The Alter Rebbe explains it later.
I know, but is there? Okay, I mean, I'm just wondering along the lines that we're talking about bittul. Does it also apply to that svara, also that yera levava as well?
Yes, he will never say this bittul does not translate in him saying that what I do is insignificant. And said, and if you write out and explain, Kirosha means that this Inyan, the value of what I do is not due to my own presence, but due to the fact that I'm fulfilling Hashem's command. It's not what I possess, what I'm able to do, to understand, but a means of which the Hashem's command is fulfilled. We have of a more, and I want to. It's going to take a little bit. There's a about Hachai Noisei Asatzmai. You carry a living person. If this is capable of walking on his own, you carry him on Shabbos. You're potter. So it's phenomenal. Why? Because Achai Noisei Asatzmai, the living, carries himself. When he carries himself, you are carrying him. If you didn't carry him, would he be there? Okay, this is not that simple. The principle in this is that carrying on Shabbos is not merely the carrying the object from one place to another. It is carrying it from one domain to another, from Rabin to Sayochel to Rabin. A domain change. If you carry an object in your house, there is no transgression under any circumstance. It's the domain change. Now, domain change, a person has a neshama and a guf. Who experiences domain change? To whom does domain change significant? The neshama, the intellect.
But in the Shusarab itself, 4 Amos.
4 Amos is also a domain change. Because all 4 Amos is a separate neshus. So this domain change is in the seichel, in the nefesh order. You cannot force a domain change upon a person. The domain change is his own experience, his own intellect. You carry this body, but the body does not know what a domain change is at all. Doesn't relate to it at all. Like that, the body is completely subservient to carrying the neshama in it. And you carry him. So how is it that you affected a domain change by a living person? He brought himself over there.
He brought himself, not physically, but
Not
he is
domain
cognizant
change.
of the new domain.
The main change is affected by his own intellect. Okay, there's much to speak about, just an interesting thing. Aye.
When the Frierdiker Rebbe was,
I'm sorry?
When the Frierdiker Rebbe was in prison, and he didn't give any kind of credence to the prison. It just reminds me of this.
Yeah.
He wasn't allowing the domain to change. It wasn't allowed.
Right. Nobody could have anything over him. That's for sure. So this is the significance of the beetle in the keli. Let's put it into words. The beetle of the keli is not that they don't exist, but they are completely subservient to the aspect that they are a keli. That they provide a dwelling for the oir. This is what they are. May them be made of wood, gold, no matter what it is. What is my presence? I'm a keli for the oil. As a result of that, this is what you said before. This ultimately is recognized even in Biyah, even outside of the keli, where the oil is not sensed at all. As we said, this is, and our example is, this is when the keli begins to dance. What does the goof know about dancing? What does the hand know about clapping? Along with the music. Nothing. The hand is so totally subservient to the oil hanefesh that it says, you know, I want to tell you something. You know what's going on here? I'm thinking of a song, and this is why I'm clapping. The oil, the gili oil is such that it comes to expression, it comes to manifestation in a place where there is only kelim, in Biyah. There's no oil. There's only kelim. It comes, it brings clear out what we just read before. We had a moshel for the union from Ebekli at the table. The table is a table. And everybody says, wait a second, the keli can be, the table can be in a showroom. But when the table is in the room, in a human dwelling, then the table screams, don't look at me. Look at the dwelling, look at the human being who lives here. This is the pe-oolot agili. The oil is in total gili in the keli. No one will say that the keli takes precedent of the oil. The oil is total gili in the keli. The keli is only a means of which the oil is begili. Begili at the level of the keli. The keli is what enables this oil to be begili. One second. We speak all the time that there is what's called a human dignity. You have a table and a chair, a plate and a fork and a spoon. These elements of dignity, of human dignity, come to manifestation. You recognize them when you have a table. Through the table, through the chair, through this fork and the spoon and the place. This is when that element of the dignity of the human being is revealed. This is also the oil of the human dignity is mislabish in the keli, and that's when you say, oh yeah, that's a human way of doing things. But it's revealed on a keli level where the keli does not really appreciate it at all. Despite that it is on the keli level, the human element remains paramount, primary. Look, what do you want from me? I have food over here. I want to eat it. I like it. Let me eat. So we tell him, yes, you can eat. But if you eat it this way, you are forfeiting your human quality. What's the difference? I'm eating. You're forfeiting your human quality. because the keli of your goof and the environment in which you live are all kelim to allow your human quality and your human dignity to be revealed. Are you forfeiting it in favor of the geshem, of the kelim? This one begins as habitul. This is the beetle of the keli as a result of the oil that's nizgal in the keli. And to what extent is the oil nizgal in the keli? Totally unobstructed. To the extent the oil says, this is all there is, the oil. Even though without the keli, the oil wouldn't be there.
Pe-oolot hagilui.
Huh?
Pe-oolot hagilui. What's the pe-oolot? Revelation is revelation there. What's pe-oolot adding there? The activity revelation?
No, the effect. Pe-oolot means the effect. The effect of the gilui. Because, I said, this gilui, the joy and all that, the hands do not sense it. They're not part of this, they're not privy to it.
Oh, it's one step removed. They don't sense the gilui.
They don't sense the gilui. No, they sense the gilui, but not, they sense the pe-oolot hagilui. Not the gilui itself. They don't sense
right.
it.
They sense the effect of simcha, not
Oh,
simcha
that's
per
right.
se.
Oh, that's right.
Uh-huh.
This is what comes the oil into biyah. So when you come into a human home, you say, "Hey, this is a human dwelling. Where is the human being? The human being is in every corner of the house." This is the pe-oolot hagilui. This is why it is paramountly important that a human dwelling has to be orderly and clean and in every respect representative of it being a human dwelling. As I said, you come into a room and it's all perfectly set up. One chair is out of place. Immediately you sense something is not right. Because the oil element is impure. This chair I have to circumvent by giving credence to the physical presence of this chair, not because of its spiritual contribution to this room. Okay. It's amazing how sharply defined these words are. If you pay attention, there's a whole message describing the whole phenomenon of creation, just in a few lines. Okay, we just start. Zehu, and thus,
Did we do the parentheses?
by the parenthesis, this is I Mashakosim is a look up what it says regarding this principle, but there in the Maim Rashosh Igdimu, Rei Samagim. Another hemshech. That this is the meaning when you say that Atzilus hu memutzo, that Atzilus is the intermediary between Oirin Soim Hamatzil HaNivroyim. Atzilus is the intermediary between Oirin Soim Hamatzil, the infinite light, which is the Matzil, which is the source of the emanation, El HaNivroyim, towards the creator, the creatures. And in what respect is Atzilus a memutza? The creation itself is actually to decay. In what respect is Atzilus is a memutza? Lihiyois gilui oirisoi ba'olam. It's a memutza enabling that there should be gilui oir ein soif in the world. Atzilus is a memutza that provides that there should be gilui oir ein soif in the world. Shezehu tachlis hakavona b'hizavus Atzilus. This is ultimately the kavona, the intent in bringing forth Atzilus. What is Atzilus for? Big day. It is in order sheyiya gilui alakus ba'olam eis, so that there would be gilui of godliness in the world. Okay, we have to speak about these two lines a little bit, to an extent that we can accomplish now, just for a few moments. These terms are very exact. Oir ein sof hamatzil. What's mean hamatzil? The emanator. What is the significance of the emanator versus the emanation? The difference between the emanator and the emanation is, emanation has a source. Emanator has no source. This is the primary reality. And the Rambam says there's a motzei rishon, the first being. We have no means to comprehend this with our seichel. Because our seichel immediately comes and wisely asks the question, or stupidly asks the question, where does that come from? Wisely asks the question because from our perspective, in our experience, everything has a source. But stupidly asks the question is, this question doesn't apply to that type of being which is called motzei rishon. If you listen to your own words, you would know that this question is completely out of whack. Therefore, what is the effect of Atzilus? Phenomenal effect. It brings an element that does not have the parameters of creation, of world creation, of world presence. It brings that element into the world. Transforming the world to an entity that has an element of truth beyond being created. This is a phenomenal accomplishment. And Atzilus has that effect. That there would be Gilui Oirin Soif. Gilui Oirin Soif means a Gilui of the infinite. What's infinite? Infinite is only that which has no, which is true in and of itself. Anything that has a source, by definition, is not Ein Sof because it has a beginning.
The oil is not Ein Sof.
What?
The oil doesn't have the source, the Atzmas.
The oil in Atzilus. The oil. Once the oil is in Kelim, so it's in Kelim. But Atzilus, the fact that the oil in Sof Hamatzil, the oil of the Matzil, is Mislavish in Kelim.
Yeah, but
that enables it comes to be a what?
Yeah, but the oil itself, his source is the Atzmas.
Mm-hmm.
So why do we say that the oil doesn't have a source?
Because the principle of the oil is not speaking of itself, like I say, by Kalim, there's an infant beetle. In oil, there is even a more profound beetle than in Kalim. The principle of the oil is the matzah.
The what?
The matzah. We have a phenomenal motion for this. If we can relate to it and understand the phenomenon. We say we have sunlight. I explain many times sunlight even though the sun is at some place and it illuminates the entire environment, but the illumination of the sun is not like a candlelight that throws light and the light travels. The sun comes into the world, and automatically, by its presence, the world is transformed into a different, to a sun-like world. How is this? The sun is millions of miles away. And the truth is, physically speaking, there is a journey of light from the sun into the world. And yet the effect of sun presence is a completely different effect. It's as if the darkness is not possible. It brings some quality to the world. That's what we call day, not light. Day is a fundamental truth itself. Why is it? How is that? It is due to the fact that the light of the sun points a finger at the sun itself. Look, the sun is here, not I'm here. It is the presence of the sun that gives us this sense, yes, there is such a thing as light through and through. It's not even the light of the sun, even though the light of the sun is the means by which we see the sun. But primarily what it brings to us is the sun itself. That's what the Torah says. The Moyer HaGodel themselves, the Moyer HaGodel, the sun, not the light of the sun rules the day. If it were light, it wouldn't be day, it would be light. Because in light, since light it travels and it reverberates, so light does not eliminate darkness. I'm making it possible for you to see. Only sun can eliminate darkness. Because in sun, the darkness does not exist. Okay, I'm just jumping out to a different muscle. This is the pshat. He said the oil is soif. The oil is not what Atzilus brings. He said Gila yoir. Gila elokus boilers. Gila elokus. Elokus it means it's the Atzmus itself. It is Gila elokus boilers means that the worlds lose beyond their natural limit of being a creation, a creature, a created entity. There's a godly element in it, which is not a created entity. It does not have it on its own, but it has it as a result of the intermediacy of Atzilus. But then it gets it. Okay, this will be it for this morning.
Thank you. You share the rest of the week, or you're leaving when?
I'm leaving tomorrow.
Here tomorrow? Or not?
I will. This is still a debate between me and my balabasta. You're going to be traveling all